Hello and welcome to Village Theater Spotlight, sharing stories, creating connections. Now, we are smack dab in the future of everything. It's all in our minds. So I thought it would be very inspiring to meet two talents who are at the beginning of their adult artistic journeys. So today's guest and theme, first the theme, we are the champions. I'd like to welcome Eliana and Nathan A. Smith to the screens. Welcome, you two.
Hi there.
So good
Hi.
to see you. I've heard your voices last week. It was so great to connect with you. So welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you.
Yes. And I like to start off with you sharing your hyphens. And what I mean by that is I'll say, Eliana Coe, you're an actor, a writer, and
I am a composer.
Mhm.
I am a student. I am a big fan of philosophy. I love, I'm kind of a foodie now. I'm exploring different cuisines, and I'm Jewish. I'm Catalan. Those kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Nathan A. Smith. I say actor, director, and you say
I also have to go with I love orchestrating, so I call myself an orchestrator. Not so much a composer, but give me some arrangements to do, I got you.
Absolutely.
I am a person of color, and sometimes a writer, not a very good one, but I like to stretch my skills in that.
Right?
There you go. We're always working. And yeah, I'd say those are some top ones for me.
Okay, great. Well, to get our minds and our hearts just a little bit of a kickstart, I'd like to ask you both the following. Nathan, what's the most amazing place in nature you've been?
Oh, in nature? I mean, it's Washington in general for me. Like, I was driving through the freeway the other day and I was like, look at these leaves. In the summertime, I'm like, look at that sun, look at that water. It's Washington, baby, all the way.
Don't forget the mountains.
Oh my word.
Like, we got so much.
Yeah. Eliana, what about you?
Actually, right before summer, really right before senior year officially came to a close, my friends and I went on a socially distanced camping trip, and we were able to go to Leavenworth, Washington, and there was this hike called, I think, the Icicle Gorge, and it was insane. It had everything, all the highlights, those Washington trees, some beautiful water, some bridges. It was incredible. Yeah.
Isn't it lovely to live in a place that's amazing like that? Okay, Nathan, you up next. What weird food combinations do you really enjoy?
Oh, that's a good question. I love that. For me, it's not too weird, but some people think it's weird. I have two things. I have either, and they're both like salty and sweet. So I love me some French fries and chocolate chip cookies. I love that.
Together.
A lot. I also love, I make these, I love soft pretzels. And so I make soft pretzels with chocolate chip cookie inside them. And that's...
You're a chocolate chip cookie fan.
Oh, I love chocolate chip cookies, Jerry. I love them.
Oh my word.
Eliana, what's your weird food combo?
Okay, I'm going to give my sister, my little sister, a shout out because she created this combo. It is cherries and peanut butter, and it is very good. It's like the apples and peanut butter idea, but a little different, and it's easy to just dip in. Yeah.
Okay, I was going to ask you if you dip or if you take a knife and you dip.
And you cut. No, yeah.
Okay. Nathan, where do you get your news?
Oh gosh.
You can call yourself out. It's okay.
I mean, it's everywhere. The most news I see most often is on Facebook with a lot of articles that are shared. You see it everywhere nowadays. I feel like anywhere you go, even on like Instagram, YouTube, like anywhere, there's news.
Do you fact check?
Oh yeah, 110%. 110%.
What about you, Eliana? Where do you get most of your news?
Most of my news just like Nathan said, it's kind of all over social media. It has become the heart of social media, I'd say. Yeah, even when I'm quote unquote relaxing, just scrolling through my feed, it is 100% politics. And yeah.
Yeah, and are you both fact checkers? Do you make sure that you're getting it straight and not spreading news that might not be truthful?
Mm-hmm. And when I'm not actively fact checking, I just feel this sense of remorse because it feels like truth is so foreign.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so kinda.
I feel like with the fact checking like statement alone, I feel like you always have to be ready to discuss. You know, so that's a big thing. You know, we need to share our voices, and you always have to be ready. You can't be like, I heard this on CNN, it's true, and then it turns out not to be true.
No.
Okay. Nathan, what's the most unsettling film you've ever seen?
This is I'm gonna, like you said, I'm gonna call myself out with this. The most unsettling film I have seen was when I was in my freshman year of high school, and we watched Schindler's List, and I had nightmares for probably 3 weeks. You can ask my mom. Mom, if you're watching, she knows this. I was a freshman and having nightmares, like night terrors. Oh, it was. Yeah,
it's a beautiful, tough film, isn't it?
It really is.
And just when you thought you were off the hook, Isak Perlman's violin. Oh my good, it's so heartbreaking. It's like you're getting all those beautiful dark images, and then there's that beautiful music. That score is just outstanding. What about you, Eliana? What's your most unsettling film?
You know, it's none are jumping out at me at the moment. Sometimes I'm really unsettled by some comedic work.
Oh yeah, so tell us about that.
Yeah, there have definitely been stand-up specials which aren't quote unquote films per se, but they're about an hour long, sometimes longer. And sometimes I'll be trying to get it. I'll try to get into the style of comedy that the comedian, really leans into, and there's many comedians tread the line of offensive and shock factor and all of those gray areas. And I think that's when I felt the most dissonant and discomfort, just when I don't quote unquote jive with comedian. Yeah. But again, in terms of films, I'm in the woods. I'll have to get back to you on that.
I like that you said you push through it though. Like you get you feel the discomfort with the comedian, but you try to hang with it and try to get at what they're trying to do. So that to me is a profile in courage. Nathan, what do you do when you can't sleep at night?
Ooh, that's a good question. For me, I always listen to ASMR. I am an ASMR person.
Can you tell
sometimes
us
yeah, so like it can
like what it stands for?
Become a wide range of things. Oh, I don't know what it stands for. I just know that's what it's called. I wish I knew what it stood for.
I don't know.
But
I've never heard of it.
I don't.
It's kind of like.
Do you know
it's
what it stands for?
Absolutely not. But I could. Am I physically able to do a Google search?
No, don't do that. We don't need. We'll find somebody else. We've got people who can do that for us and put it in the chat. We can
autonomous censoring.
There it is.
Thank you. Oh wow. Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you, Kevin. Wow. What do you do? How does that tool help you?
It just is a great tool for relaxing. Because I think a lot of people's automatic reactions when they can't sleep is to just go on social media, and I think you can't do that, and you shouldn't do that, especially if you're trying to sleep. And so that you can pull up a YouTube video. There's so many apps that you can get that have like sleep stories. Sometimes they're like soft spoken, sometimes they're whispered. like for me, a big one for me, this is like you're getting to know Nathan real well for this in this chat. But I love hair cutting sounds. Like if someone's going to be pretending to cut my hair, that will knock me out. Wow. So it's stuff like that like really is just, that's how I can fall asleep really easily. So yeah, ASMR.
Inside your brain. I love it. I love it. What about you, Eliana? What do you do when you can't sleep at night?
When I can't sleep at night, I turn to softly and quietly playing the guitar, because it's the combination of needing to do something with my hands, also just the kind of catharsis music gives me in general. And honestly, there are a lot of songs that have come between the hours of 2 and 5 that none of them are like decent, but they were really important in the moment. So that's what I turn to.
Do you tend to remember most of them, or do some of them sort of fall off into dreamland and never to return?
I normally will have my notes app on the side, and I will type up the chords and the lyrics. Sometimes it's just lyrics. Sometimes I need to just write when I'm unable to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Nathan, where is the line between soup and cereal?
Wow, that is quite the question. Something maybe I haven't really thought about.
I never thought about it until I saw the question. It's like, what?
The line between soup and cereal. Is there any way to expand on that?
I don't think. I think it's a question that's meant to make our heads explode, because when I think about it, it makes me not want to eat either of those things.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want to think of them in the same room even. What about you, Eliana?
Yeah.
Eliana, what about you? You thinking about it? Is your head about to explode? Soup and cereal?
I wouldn't classify milk as soup ever, but maybe
it sounds horrifying actually.
It really does. Yeah, it's milk and like sugary croutons. It's not soup. Like
it's not soup.
That wasn't a great response, but that's
no. I think that question is designed to short circuit us, because they don't really. There's not really an answer for it, because nobody wants to have any of those things close to each other. So I just wanted to. So that is the end of our hearts are open, our minds are open, and now we can carry on. I wanted to visit just a couple of Village Theater adjacent items. I met you both through Village Theater's Kid Stage program, but the three of us recently were on Village Stage new musical Hansel and Gretel and Heidi and Gunther. Yes.
Yeah.
And I, though COVID, it stopped the production before it could officially open. I think we were able to, just create some really wonderful moments as a company, creating some really, really special things inside of a brand new musical. So I was very proud of the process of our work and working with the both of you. Now, Nathan, it was great. Did you have an official title? All I just remember is I just every day it was just a joy to have you sitting next to me when we were rehearsing. Was there an official title, or did you just say, "I just want to be there, sitting in the working in the new music"?
It was just I was mainly just shadowing you. I just call myself your shadow in that situation.
It was great. It was great. It was great to be thinking about something with our choreographer Jimmy Shields, and we all three would just go up on stage and figure something out, and it was just a beautiful sort of triad. I enjoyed that time. What is something, Nathan, that you took away from that experience?
How much? I think for me, going from high school to then this, I have a lot of experience with new works. He's my drama director, was very into new works. And so I think this put it in that much of a like professional standpoint, and how much it changes, and just how open everybody needs to be for change. I think that's a huge thing.
And for our viewers, can you elaborate on what might change in a new musical process?
Oh yeah, I mean, Jerry, if I can say this, I mean,
yes,
we
absolutely.
We cut in Hansel and Gretel. I mean, Ellie knows this, you know this. We cut a number and tried it like maybe 4 or 5 times.
Yes, you could say that.
We were just like, it's not gonna work. And it's just, you know, the composers were very, you know, attached to the number, and it just wasn't reading on stage like any of us really wanted it to. And so you have to let it go. And that happens so often in new works. I mean, Seattle in general is so well known for its new works.
Yeah.
Village, Fifth, and, you know, Seattle Rep, we're just popping them out like crazy.
And part of the beauty of that is our patrons love them, and they embrace the process. And I know in our beta program, they will come to a show at the very beginning of the process and see a very different show at the end of the process. And they're thrilled about that. Now, Eliana, in Hansel and Gretel, Heidi and Gunther, you did a very demanding job. You understudied that show. How was that for you? Because I know it's a really demanding position to be in.
It was. I had always in the back of my mind had just such a deep respect for understudies and swings, but I had never been one myself personally. And I was also, this was my first show actually being a performer in a new work as well, which I was always given the hard stuff before. It really opened my eyes to what it means to adapt quickly, what it means to also there's so much before an actor performs, there's so much work that has to be done. And Jerry, I remember the exercises that you led us through with like spitfire questions that we had to respond in character, and all of our table reads. There was so much prep work that we had to have in our bones before the world, like the physical world of the play, was shifted and changed. I thought that was so interesting because it was an exercise in making the world outside of the text before diving into it, because the text was, like Nathan said, just up in the air all the time. And I just had such a wonderful time. It was very stressful, but it was wonderful.
You all were very impressive in that. When I was a young actor, I used to think of those exercises. Sometimes I would think of them as very close to a waste of time. And as I grew in experience, I realized that they were getting you ready to learn better. They're opening you up in some way and opening up that conduit of taking in new information. And I was very impressed that you, as a young company, got that very quickly. You got that. There was a method in those exercises of whether we dance together or, you know, spit out some words together or sang together, something nonsensical. It all sort of takes us into the same direction. Nathan, I've not seen you on stage yet. I have seen something you directed, but you were in Chicago, right? There you are as Billy Flynn.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
How was that? That must be a fun role. It always looks like Billy Flynn's always having the most fun of anybody in the musical.
You know, what was interesting in that experience was I just came off of doing a summer intensive of Hair, where I played Burger, which he's like very crazy, very like over the top. And then right after I was doing Billy Flynn, and that show, it has been one of my favorite shows that I've been in with Kid Stage. And it was also one of the hardest experiences that I have been involved in. but that's why I love it so much. Like that was just a really hard like character transition for me. The show was just also very challenging. It's very fast paced, very, you know, a lot of dialogue for lawyers. So that was it was a lot, but I loved every moment of it.
Man, those shows couldn't be any more different because Hair is really about that freedom and kind of just an expression of like whatever. And then Chicago has such precision based tasks that you have to do just to get through the show. Never mind having fun doing it, just spitting the pattern and the movement. And then Nathan, you did Urinetown.
Yes, yeah, I did Urinetown. That was my first kid stage show. Yeah, where I played Caldwell B. Cladwell in Urinetown. Yeah.
I love it. Now, something I did see of yours, I did see your production that you directed of Funny Girl, and it was really terrific.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, there's Fanny Bryce up there.
Rylan.
That was built that stage within a stage. I've always loved backstage musicals. I think that's really a kind of a penchant of mine, and you did a beautiful job. Tell me the biggest challenge of directing Funny Girl, an American classic.
The biggest challenge was, I think, for me, I think it was. See, the vision that I had for that production was making sure we didn't make it too much into a star vehicle, but we kind of molded the world around her, and that kind of just, it was something that meshed really well. And this cast was only 17 people. I mean, for anyone who knows like Funny Girl and Golden Age musicals, they're normally casts of 40, 45 because of all the different categories. And I wanted the ensemble to be challenged as much as Rylan playing Fanny Bryce would be a challenge, because they'd be playing like 5 different characters. And so I think a big thing for a challenge for us all was trying to make those tracks, you know, all these costume changes. I mean, it was crazy, a crazy experience. And then for Golden Age as well, a big thing that's so important to me is the pacing of it. And in Golden Age, they can be a little slower sometimes. But that show, we got it, I think, as tight as we could with the amount of time that we had, and it was just flying by. But I love directing that show. It was so fantastic. I want to do it again.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I mentioned to you when I saw it is I really appreciated that I've seen a couple of productions of Funny Girl, and sometimes things can happen to Fanny, and she's becomes a very reactionary character. And I felt like there was a real intention to have her be a person who can deal with anything that comes at her. She always came from a real strength, and I really like, and she adapted. It's like that word we keep saying today. She kept adapting, and it was so purposeful. And why don't you talk about a little bit of how you explored that with Rylan?
Well, we wanted to. Rylan is such a fantastic actress, and she was so fun to work with. That her and I working in a room together is a lot of like us getting up and trying things. You know, whether it's me like getting up and being like, "Let's try it this way," and then she's like, "Well, wait about where we do it this way." And so it's a lot of discussing. Her and I had a fine, like, just line with working together about making sure that she is portraying her, the character, as her. She's not someone, we wanted to portray her exactly how Rylan is, kind of thing. Like it's so, we didn't want her to be Barbra Streisand. We didn't want her to be anyone who's played that role before, because it was so important for the statement of the piece. And luckily we literally had the perfect Fanny during the casting, you know, session that we had. We all knew right off the bat that it was going to be Rylan, and she would always move me, and she took that role so well. And it was quite easy for my job because she was just so fantastic, and that's her favorite, you know, musical. And so she deserved that all the way. But it was such a great statement on so many levels. Like, it was a layered statement about being like empowering for women, and then just powering through no matter what you look like, who you are, like just keep going. You know, you are, you know, it was just amazing. It really was. So, yeah.
Well, awesome work on that. And Eliana, I actually have seen you in one of the shows I'm going to mention, not the other two, but you were in for Village Theater. You were in Big Fish.
Yes.
Which
Wow.
which I actually think is a musical that didn't quite get its proper due on Broadway.
Oh, the soundtrack makes me sob consistently. Just.
And the thing that I did see you in is Freaky Friday, which is near and dear to my heart because I did the first workshops in New York for it. I love that show.
No way.
No way.
I love it so much. And I was giddy when I saw you do this. The show is so wonderful and so much fun. And I actually got to hear new songs because I did the first workshops. Again, like what Nathan said about Hansel and Gretel, Hetty and Gunther, things change. And it was really, really cool to go, oh, they did fix that thing that I thought they needed to fix. They actually did. It was so cool. That was really great.
Oh, wow.
And one of my all-time favorite new holiday musicals is A Christmas Story. And it's just so much fun.
Oh, my God. Oh, wow. I loved those two boys so much. They were so sweet.
Yeah. Oh, man. And this I also know about you. I know that you are a lyricist and a composer. And I love this wonderful shot of you playing the guitar. I was actually, that was the first time I was introduced to you. We were doing a benefit event or a festival event, and you were singing something, I believe, from one of the shows that you were one of the writers on. Am I right about that?
I think it was If I Had a Scent from All That Glitters. Yeah. So that's a kid stage original.
Exactly it. Yeah, beautiful. You write beautifully. And when did you start? When did you start writing? Because I know you're from a musical family. I've been to your place, and there's musical instruments. And your sister is. We're fans of Imagine Dragons. We've talked about that a little bit.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you knew that. We talked about that, but
that's awesome.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Tell me about when you started writing.
Yeah. I've been making up little ditties for as long as I can remember. I think there's some strange voice memo from when I was 3 with something that I had just come up with. Music has always been my work, my play, my therapy, just kind of how I process and how I deal with everything. So let's see. I think when I was around 9, I started seriously tracking what songs I had started to write, and that was ripped up notebooks. And then I got a phone when I was 11 or 12, and so I started typing them down. And then in 2019, I for school was assigned to transcribe my first sheet music, and I used MuseScore, which is free and much better than Noteflight for anyone out there who is Nathan can attest to this.
Notation software for
notation
notes into great.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of been a little bit of the progression.
Why do you think it's important that they wanted you your instructors wanted you to learn how to notate your music?
Partially it was for a music theory class, but beyond that, it was so liberating for me. I felt I still feel very emotional thinking about it, because music is a language, and being able to communicate with other people, it was the key for something that was so deeply personal. Something could exist beyond my performance. Something could exist for others. Other musicians could take it, make it theirs, as Nathan does, make arrangements that just shatter the globe and are so cool. It's because music is both. It's a gift that you give and receive. So it was that bridge, and so.
Yeah, the fact that we can write something down musically and send it across the planet and somebody can play it without knowing us, without knowing our language, our spoken language. It's just, It's an amazing, wonderful shared gift of ours. So you're both obviously multi-talented and you have lots of interest, and I love that about you too. How are you figuring out how to explore your interest during this strange, trying, sometimes difficult, sometimes surreal, bizarre time? How are you finding ways to figure out how to stay creative? Nathan, why don't you start?
For me, it's a mix of things. I mean, we are in a place where we're trying to make, theater and art work as much as possible, and then during this very strange time. For me, one of those things is like listening to music, or arranging songs, looking at orchestrations for things, thinking about projects that I maybe want to direct when I have more experience, just thinking about those things of how I would stage things and stuff like that. Luckily, also we have like virtual theater that we're trying to like innovate and immerse people in. I've been in a workshop for a new work that Rylan and a few others wrote called Out of Bounds. So I did that kind of in the middle of like COVID, and then now I'm in a production of A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder that Rylan is directing. So things like that are keeping me busy as much as possible, but trying to keep that part alive.
Yeah, it must be an interesting switch for you to you've directed Rylan and now she's directing you. How's that?
It is.
How's that turn of events?
It's interesting. Like I said, we work really well together, and we bounce each other's off of ideas all the time, and it's a really wonderful experience. It's definitely different, but I love it. So yeah.
Yeah, what about you, Eliana? How are you figuring out how to explore, first of all, explore your new domestic situation, because you're in New York City right now at NYU since August, I believe?
Yeah, August 18th was move-in day. Yeah, so it's being in the Village specifically, there's just this pulse constantly of young people and just artists. I live right by Washington.
And for our viewers, Greenwich Village is a big neighborhood, very artsy. It used to be bohemian. Now it's not so much anymore. Greenwich Village, near NYU. Yeah.
Yes, it's right towards the center of campus, and there's so many protests. There's so many people rolling out grand pianos in the middle of the park.
Yes.
There's just this need to create, and I think after COVID and after the beginning of the pandemic and the beginning of this wave of social change and everything that has been going on in the world, it's kind of like this massive release. So I've been really absorbing that, and that has definitely been influencing my work, both in class at NYU and also my artistic work outside. I'm currently a part of this club at NYU called Tisch New Theater, where there's a new production called Offstage that is a virtual devised new work where there are 11 composers and 11 actors, and we are paired up with each other. And the main theme of this project is about identity, which has been very top of mind for, I think, our whole country recently, and also just on a very individual level. So we're talking about identity, and so the goal is each composer-actor pair is supposed to compose a song based on the identity of an actor. And for this project, I am a composer, and I was able to work with someone from California, which was amazing. Again, virtual theater is kind of magical like that. And so yeah, just finding ways to devise, finding ways to problem solve. And the best part about virtual theater specifically is the scope. It's the range. There's in the same group of theater humans that Nathan's doing a Gentleman's Guide with. I'm currently directing a show for younger students called How to Eat Like a Child. And there are students that are in everywhere from Georgia to New Jersey to Seattle. And it's so wonderful that they get to create theater when they're on opposite sides of the country. It's insane.
You know, listen to you say that it's about identity of the actor. I think it's rare that viewers might think that actors rarely get to sort of delve into who they are on stage or on the Zoom stage because they're mostly busy playing characters that someone else wrote. So I think that's a fascinating, really access to vulnerability and bravery. Yeah. That's I'm can't wait to see what comes of all that. Listen, I want to get to something I said at the top of the show, that right now the future of everything is in our minds and hearts. So I want to share a few questions with you, and I'll go back and forth with you. This will be for Nathan. What can you share with us about your hopes for America's future?
Yeah. Well, first off, I want to start saying something that we can start by doing now, and that's to go out and vote. It's very important to do so. And I mean, it starts there. It really does. It starts there. And I think people need to look at what the pie chart looked like from 2016 compared to now. I think we're doing a lot better of a job this time around, but I think it's very important for us to vote. I think what I really want right now, and it's driving me insane in the media and news and politics, we are so divided right now. Mm-hmm. We are so divided. And I feel more so than normal, and we're eating at each other from both sides, and we are missing the point of any kind of equality, to embrace, this who we are as a country. Like we are a world with many different people. And I feel that it's very sad to me, and I am very over it. And I think we need to listen to each other, and go back to school, listen to each other. We are so divided. I cannot say that enough. We are so divided.
But something you said to me the other day, which I really, really took to heart, is that you were saying to a friend, I don't even need to know who you're going to vote for. I don't. I just want you to vote.
Exactly.
And that's what we should want for each other. We should want us to use our voices, no matter what they are. They can be different from ours. They can be different platforms, different views. And I love that you wanted that for your friend. He said, use your voice. It's yours to use. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you see, luckily with Ellie and I, a lot of our friends and colleagues that we know, we love to speak up, and that's very important because that educates. And that also goes back to the question earlier about fact checking. We're going to post something that we fact check and know that is a true statement. And because that's the way that we start and progress change, is educating people. And I feel like we don't educate each other enough, because we're like, oh, look at that rumor right there. Oh my gosh, can't believe that's
shiny
true.
Object.
And then we start spreading that, and then everyone starts to get an opinion. Conspiracy theories start to come, and all this stuff. And so that's it. Really, we have to share our voices, and that's exactly what I told my friend, because they were like, I don't know what I want to do. I said, just vote. Just vote. Yeah. That's all I need from you. Just do it. So,
Eliana, what are some things that you might tell my generation?
It sounds very simple, but to just listen and to practice the art of listening well. not waiting for your turn to speak, not acting impulsively, taking a breath and listening to the people who are directly affected by the decisions that you have made and will make in the future. I also think that I'd like to believe that it is in everyone's best interest to create a world where everyone is uninhibited by their identity and are because of like certain social structures that we've held on to. People are able to create the lives that they deserve to create. And I think that your generation, Jerry, should take a moment to see what is constructive and what would bring us closer to that utopia of just you are actually in the land of opportunity, not the land of opportunity for a very select group of people who opt to very coercive means of getting what they want.
Thank you both. Those are wise answers, and I hope my generation has listened to both those things. Nathan, what does fairness and justice look like to you? And then I'll ask Eliana that same question.
That's a very big question, and for me, if you're connecting it to like, because in almost anything that we do, there is always some sort of divide. I mean, even something in theater where there's a lot of different kinds of people. And for me, it goes back to, I want us all to think about what I say as, as someone going into like audition kind of thing. So if I go into audition for Ellie, for example, Eliana, and I go and audition for her, and the thing that I always compare to our real world situation here is my goal when I walk into that room for Ellie to watch me audition is that she will view me as equally as anybody else. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I look at it. I want to be equally looked at. We all share this world. We all share this country. We all share this, this land that, has a very broad history and all that stuff. But it's so important that's what that looks like to me. Like
that's great. And I want to point out that you didn't say you wanted Eliana to treat you especially. You said fairly, which is yes. Yeah. Eliana, what about you? What does fairness and justice look like to you?
Absolutely what Nathan said. And I think it needs to apply to every part of life, including such mundane little details. When everyone can just feel comfortable doing the most simplest things, just when you're able to just exist just unabashedly and not have the weight of the gaze or all these different things. Just to be able to have a cup of coffee, to be able to being able to have the right to vote and do such monumental things. I think in a world that is
without
just
that gaze,
and fair,
that stare of judgment,
the stare of judgment, the stare of from decision makers, the people who hold power. And decision makers is, I mean, who are the decision makers, right? But anyway, yeah.
I like that, Eliana, I like that you boiled it down. That if you start even with the little things, because one of the things that it's interesting that you both mentioned extremes. If you start with the little things, and Nathan, you mentioned that that question's so big, like what is that if we keep practicing equality and just the smallest little things, we'll be ready for when the big things come our way. I think, just as being just a little bit experienced. Let me see. Oh my God, there's so much, and this has just been. I'm so excited to talk with you two because I've just been having a wonderful time, and I know I'm going to run out of time, but I do have a couple of things. Do you think, Nathan, that children born today will have better or worse lives than their parents or their guardians?
I hope better. That's my hope. Sometimes I think that we are moving forward better than ever when we start with this generation that's coming up, people who are voting for the first time right now. Mm-hmm. We continue to improve. Back. I hope so. More.
I love that. We need that. And Nathan's breaking up a little bit. Oh, we'll get him back. I love that message of hope. Eliana, if you could travel back in time, maybe, I don't know, 3 years, what would you say? What would you say to yourself? What advice would you give to yourself heading into life as a teenager?
I think to practice mindfulness and to really be present and to make choices in a state of being grounded and remembering to breathe, remembering what has value and how much value certain things have, just to not inflate or escalate certain things when it's not due, and not to undervalue things that are very important.
Nathan, Eliana was answering my question of what she would say to herself if she could travel back in time 3 years. And I love that you said, Eliana, that to live in the present and to really take it all in. Yeah, that's hard to do. That's another thing I think we all have to practice on a daily basis so that once the important things come, we can really meet that. And Nathan, I also just applauded your message of that you hope that the generations will be better. And I really like that. So I want you both to answer these questions in our last few minutes. Do you think, Eliana, that humans will ever be able to live together in harmony? And I know that's a what, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's when I think harmony, I think music, and I think that there are incredible phrases, and Nathan can also attest. And also, Jerry, I know you also compose yourself, so you can attest to this. Some of the most beautiful musical phrases are first dissonant and then resolved, but you need to give space to having that dissonant chord before you can meet the resolve, or else there isn't as much catharsis with the resolve. And I think in a perfect world, we have the space for that dissonance, and we give space to have dissonance, but we meet it with respect for each other, respect for the conversation, and then move forward towards a resolve and actively, and not give up en route. But I think we need to give space, because if we're all able to speak our minds, then, I mean, harmony doesn't have to be unison. You're right. Harmony is not unison, but yes.
Well said. And I'm going to give our viewers examples of two things that are not harmonic, and one of them is the modern opera composer John Adams. his dissonance. It's so crunchy, and your shoulders are like tight, and then all of a sudden he opens it up, and it's not dissonance, and you can see the entire audience just relax their shoulders. It's so beautiful. And then like somebody who deconstructs and it's not harmonic until he needs it to be. It was Art Tatum. His piano composition arrangements were just mind blowing in that way that it's like, I don't know where I am. You don't get your footing until the artist and Art Tatum absolutely wants you to. Nathan, the same question. Do you think humans will ever live together in harmony?
I think it's definitely possible. We all have work to do, and I think we need to pick up that work, and because I think it's possible, and I think, you know, in an ideal world, if it happens, I think we'll really be amazed how free everyone's gonna feel.
Yeah.
Like,
oh man, I want to be there. I'm afraid
same.
I won't be.
You know, same. It's the feeling that I think we would all feel is just being like, just so happy and content. I feel like we would be content if we just breathed and listened, and that's what we need. That's what we need. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And getting back to yourselves, Eliana, I am certain it's kind of a redundant question, but a rhetorical question, I should say. How are these times affecting your writing?
Oh, a great deal. That's how much. Let's see. Lyrically, in that regard, quite a bit. I also think I've had some time in quarantine recently upon moving here, and I think melodically, a lot of my work has been all over the map rather than just simple standard chords, which kind of reflects very turbulent times. And I would say in written work, I've been writing a lot of questions and not answering them, which used to give me a great deal of anxiety in academic papers and otherwise. But I found recently I wrote a paragraph. I think it was for school, but I'm not entirely sure. The whole paragraph was just questions, and there was no following paragraph. And that's how I think our whole world feels, because there's so much at stake.
Yeah. Doesn't it feel like we're living inside of a question every day now? What's going on? Yeah. Nathan, what about you? What has it changed the types of stories you want to direct, the way you want to direct, the people you want to be in the room with? What's going on with you as far as what the world is telling you?
Yeah. For me, I think it always, directing and picking out shows and my cast is always a statement. It's our opportunities that we're giving people, is a big thing. What we want our audience to take away from that, even more so now, because even any, like I said earlier, any craft that we have is we all need work. We all have work to do, even in theater, where and I think it's finding those, and it's honestly going back to that content feeling. It's a lot of freaking fun to find those opportunities, to direct, just have a statement for casting opportunities. It's even taking works from the 20s and looking at that and how can we push it now, like what can we do to like twist that? And I think we really are trying, but I think we can do it even more. But yeah.
Before we go, I have one last question to ask the both of you. The same question, because Eliana, now that you're here in New York, and being a Jewish person in New York and being a marginalized target of sometimes people's hostilities, and Nathan, you being a brown man in this country and also being sometimes a target of people's hostility or their misunderstandings. I want to ask you how you would explain the word love to someone without using the word love. Why don't I start with you, Eliana?
Big question. Very big question. Acceptance. Trust. Admiration.
Oh.
Deep admiration. And deep admiration and depth. Depth. Love is very deep.
What about you, Nathan?
I definitely, acceptance was the first thing that came into my head as well, Ellie. Understanding as well, I think. Anytime, whether it's a partner or deep friend, I think understanding. I think also communicating is a big thing. Just talking it out. It's a lot of communication, because tension in general is created from people holding in what they're feeling inside. And I think just let's.
He froze, but man, Nathan seems to be right on time. He freezes right at the crust of his idea, and he always gets it out. So
I know the internet can't handle it.
He will be back.
Yes.
Yeah, this has been. Yeah, you back, Nathan? No. It's really great to bridge these generation gaps, because there's so much, there is so much to be, I know, I will speak for people of my generation, there's so much that we can learn from people who are so in it. And having lived a chunk of my life, it's really great to not look back as much as get energy from the next generation. I love that. I love the fact that there are that there are different ways of thinking about things, and you can. It's not that you stay young as much as you stay in it. You stay locked into it. You make sure that your thoughts are relevant and your conversations are relevant and depth and deep and connected. So I really, really appreciate that. I know, Eliana, you told me about an organization that you like to share with us. Can you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. Actually, a kid stage kid and a dear friend of mine. Her name is Alyssa Jawani. She, like many of us in quarantine, as soon as the pandemic hit, just was so overwhelmed with grief because of, proximity and making theater, creating art. And she legitimately started this project. She called up all of these different theater kids who are now entering collegiate theater, and she said, want to start a virtual theater company? And a handful of people said yes, including myself. And we are basically just a group of college theater students who felt a deep sense of gratitude towards the amazing artistic communities and opportunities that we were able to have, like Kids Stage. Oh my word. Nathan and I can both speak to just how much that gave us in our adolescence and early youth. And we felt a great sense of remorse, because for many kids across the country, across the world actually, that's not an option during these times. So if you have a youngin' or are a youngin', the Virtual Theater Co. is just starting out. We are offering all sorts of different classes. They're all college kids trying new things, just really hoping to create the same space that we were blessed with to make art, make theater.
Yeah, that reach back is so important. And Nathan, I was giving your props is that even when you freeze, you always end at the apex of your your conversation note. It's awesome. I don't know how
We
you
love
do it.
it.
It's like magic. So Nathan, why don't you share your org interest with us?
One of my favorite organizations, even more so now, is Broadway Cares. Broadway Cares is a really amazing organization for us arts people. Um, they they raise a bunch of money for equity fights against AIDS. Right now, even more so with any of us actors who are struggling with the pandemic,
Mhm.
and even more so, they are a part of the Black Lives Matter movement. They're a huge thing, and if you're like, well, is there something in it for me? They have like, you can do signed posters. You can,
Mhm.
when shows were going on, they had these big red buckets, and you could buy signed posters
Yeah.
and fancy snow globes, and it's a wonderful organization that helps so many people, so many people.
It's so true, and there's almost nothing they will say no to as far as helping the Phyllis Newman Women's Health Initiative, housing for aged actors because we do get older, or artists, directors, stage managers. Yeah, it's just a wonderful organization. Both these things. Thank you so much. I cannot tell you how sad I am that we don't have another hour with you two. This has been really, really wonderful, and it's really great to come to the end of our hour with such wonderful depth and optimism about the future. I don't think there's any doubt that your generation, I think the world is in pretty good hands, and certainly I think in better hands. So I thank you for sharing, and I hope connecting, and I will see you both very soon. I wanted to say a happy good night to you, and whatever next week brings, it's what it is, and I have every confidence that you'll pull through. Okay.
Thank
You so much.
you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing, and I hope connecting. Also, thanks to our spotlight producer, Kevin Vortman, everyone at Village Theater, and of course, my artistic team. Next week, Karen Lund and Joseph Tancioca will be in our spotlight for I Believe. The theme is personal faith in public theater square. So what does that mean? You'll have to tune in next time. Bye-bye.